Our next session is in charge of Kathy Brown, CEO of the Internet Society of the world. And we also have Adam P. and Eduardo will be making introductions.
Well, thank you, Kathy, for being here today. By the way, are you planning to stay during the ICANN meeting, or?
I will be here for a little bit next week.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I'm here with science stuff.
Okay. Kathy Brown is the president and CEO of ISOC Puerto Rico is us. Internet Society Global Office. And I think she is leaving us sometime soon. There will be another CEO. ISOC, you have been with us for five years. Time flies, I remember. Let me tell you a little bit about Ms. Brown. And you know, I didn't know that people call you Kathy. And you're Catherine.
I'm Catherine.
Catherine, I didn't know that. So, you know, she has a career that has spanned the public and private sectors, including serving the United States National Telecommunications Administration, the ATA, which is the abbreviation for that. She worked in the Federal Communications Commission and leading policy and global corporate social responsibilities initiatives for telecom provider Verizon. She received her JD, summa cum laude from Syracuse University College of Law, and her BA magna cum laude from Marist College. Ms. Brown has served on the advisory board of the Public Interest Registry, the Empowering Development Initiative of the ITU, and the USC Annenberg Innovation Lab. With you, I present Kathy Brown.
Thank you. I am absolutely delighted to be here. I want to congratulate all of you here in Puerto Rico and this wonderful work you have done putting together the school. I've sat here for just a couple of hours listening, and I'm hoping that you all have enjoyed having the folks amongst you who have been around for a bit. With that, you're thinking and really and musing, and I loved your question, like how can we do more, get more about what the future is about.
Sorry.
So this is my buddy here, you know. It's all right. So I thought it was interesting to me that as I listened to many people speak, they are of ISOC. The Internet Society has been around for 25 years. And it was indeed the first Internet Society because it was Vince Cerf who said, I have this code and I need to tell the world that I think we have something special here and that we have a technology that is going to do great things, that is going to create a society of people who can communicate with each other globally and can collaborate and create locally. And indeed, it's turned out that way. Last year was the 25th anniversary of the Internet Society. It was quite, for me, it was quite a moving year in talking to everyone from the people who are in our Hall of Fame and go on and read about them. They're from all over the world. All the way to our 25 under 25, a group of 25 young people who are leading for the future. And what a dynamic group of people, and we brought these two groups together, and it was one of the most exciting, igniting things I've seen because, as I say, the elders, as I call them, spoke to the next generation, and they excited each other about the meaning of the internet and what it means for the future, even as we celebrate the past. So as you hear about all these experiences that we all have had, and we tell our stories about the beginning of things, and the middle of things, and what we established, I think you take that as a way to say, there's something important here, but the view of all of us needs to be for the future. So what is it in the 21st century that we need to be thinking about with respect to the internet? And why should there still be an internet society when over 60% of the world already has access to it? What is this about? Why do you still exist? Well, for starters, our whole entire mission is that the internet should be for everyone. And I've added my little comma, everywhere. And it is not yet. We are not connected everywhere. 40% of the world is not connected. And if we believe, as we do in the Internet Society, that the internet is really the economic backbone of the 21st century economy, we cannot leave almost half the world off of that backbone. We cannot decide, because we don't want to put the work into it, that half the world's children will grow up without having access to the way that economic, social, and individual growth is going to happen. At the same time, we're not in 1992. We know a lot about what the internet has brought, both good and some things not so good in the eyes of our community. Last year, the Internet Society did a global internet report that I really commend to you to take a hard look at, where we talked to over 2,000 people in our community, in our greater community, about what their hopes are, what their dreams are, and what their fears are about the internet. And I suspect you could tell me what they are. I suspect you don't necessarily have to read the report to know what the hopes are for people. This great opportunity for empowerment, for being able to organize ourselves together for collective action, for individual expression, for creativity, all of that. What our anxieties are about? Our anxieties are about security and safety. And we heard that across the world. Anxieties around, am I safe online? Is my data secure? Is my business secure? What do we do about fixing these problems in a best efforts internet that was never meant to be built to be quote unquote secure? Those two issues have been the focus of the Internet Society in the last couple of years, focusing on what is the next thing we have to do to ensure that the internet is for everyone. A, it has to be everywhere, and two, it has to be accessible, but it must be safe and secure, or we will not have the trust we need in the internet. So we've had I think an amazingly strong reaction and participation from our people around the world. So when I say our people, what do I mean? We have, I believe it's 138 chapters, of which Puerto Rico is one with, I believe, over 300 people in this chapter alone. If you look at the world chapter by chapter by chapter, we got a lot of people that are the Internet Society, that are us, that are we. Most organizations, and indeed I don't think any other organization in this space has the reach that the Internet Society has. And so the potential for doing good, for changing what's not good, for evolving the internet, for making sure our communities are involved, lies with us. So to say what I was asked to say, how do you become involved? Join a chapter. Join a chapter. Become part of the group of people who are locally concerned and concentrating on what we have to do to ensure that we have the internet we want of the future. Our hashtag, Shape Tomorrow. You'll see it all over the place. Because that's what we mean. That's what we need to do. I put our website, which we worked pretty hard on over the last year to make it much more accessible for mobile, for low bandwidth, for ability for people as we keep evolving this, for our communities and our chapters to have access to this, to use some of the technologies. And I hope you would take a look at it. You'll see there's a great emphasis this week on international women and the women who are already doing an amazing thing on the internet. We know that women are not as present as men on the internet, but we know that the women who are present are pretty powerful people. Just look around this room and look at your colleagues. They're people full of passion. And so we've shined a light on those women this week during International Women's Week. So I offer you the opportunity to take a look. What else will you find? You'll find that there's voting open for the board of the Internet Society right now. If you're a member of the chapter, your chapters vote on who your representatives are on the board. Olga's here. Mr. Glenn is here. Who else? I think these are folks who give their time, their energy, their talent, and a lot of energy and direction to the Internet Society. And that vote is an important one. My successor will be picked by the board in the next 6 months. I think this is an enormously important thing. I'm very, very proud of the work that we have done together in 5 years. I'm very excited and really feel so very lucky to have had the experiences I've had. I also know that every organization needs to always refresh itself, and that new leadership is a good thing. Please look at the brochure that has been written with respect to succession. It is important and it's very exciting for you to look at. And then you'll see lots of things about what it is we're doing at the Internet Society. A lot of collaboration. So we talk about multi-stakeholder processes. What do we really mean? We mean collaborative governance. By the way, that's the other way into this. Not just through telecommunications, but there's a lot of work going on around how you govern collaboratively and what that means in various fields, on the internet, in the climate space, and in other places. So I invite you to look at that as well. And you'll see, and this is where I want you to see this, the Get Involved section will show you all kinds of ways that you can participate, and please join. Right over here, not hard, right there, quick. And no money. Become a member by signing up, joining, and agreeing to be part of our list of people who we call our members. Now about, I think we're up to almost 100,000 people who are saying, yes, I want to be part of this. I'll finish by saying the following. There are, as I said, chapters to be involved with, but that doesn't mean just go to a meeting. It means do things. In the last 2 years or 3 years, and which is why we have a SIG or a dynamic coalition on the internet and climate, we know that there have been really catastrophic events here and not far from here in the Caribbean just recently, where the internet goes down, and all of us, any of us who have been involved in disaster relief, know the first thing you need is a network. If you don't have a network, you can't reach people, you can't do the logistics, et cetera, et cetera. Our chapters around the world have been at the forefront in doing this kind of work. I watched it in Nepal. I've watched it in Mexico after the earthquake. I watched it in the tsunami in Japan. Those are our people on the ground. And I would suggest, and want to suggest, and have been suggesting to folks, that this is an area that we as ISOC can stand strong. We can be ready with some response with respect to getting the networks up. I want to talk to you more about this. We are talking a lot about this at staff and what we can do, talking with our chapter groups about how we could be part of that very vital thing. Because, you know, we want to talk about the future and we want the technologies to evolve, but we're human beings in a situation where the climate, war, unfortunately, and other things that are happening in the world will take that internet down. So one of the first things we want is the internet up. So in terms of getting involved, I love to see that grassroots movement that says you can't shut it off, you can't blow it down, you can't rumble it down without us being aware of it and wanting to do something about it. So you're going to hear more about that from us, and it's something I wish you all could talk about and maybe give us some feedback as to whether the resources of the Internet Society can be helpful in that regard. One last thing. Why am I here? The PIR, Public Interest Registry. Who knows what I'm talking about? Anybody? Some people, okay. It's .org. Okay, they run .org. .org, the proceeds of .org, the $8 a month or whatever people pay, the proceeds, the money that doesn't go to running .org comes to the Internet Society. We are the benefits of the participation of so many not-for-profit groups, organizations around the world. We are the stewards of that revenue that together we should and need to use to make sure the Internet is everywhere for everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We have Adam Peak now, who is the
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll tell you, I'll begin.